Okay. Members of the public, did you have anything from public?
I already addressed with you guys prior.
Well, it wasn't official, so,
Oh,
so just real quick, if you'd like to, so you can get your time on the TV.
oh, well, appreciate it. Mark
That's what
Formel,
you came here for, right?
Dover resident. I came here to learn, this is honestly.
I was
But-
joking.
No, I know. I just came up with one discrepancy, which was a line item under principal's office for other professional services. It had account listing 5343, and I believe it should have been 5341 for other professional services, which I spoke to Mr. Martin earlier today about when we went over the budget together, and thanked him for his time and helping me understand what the certain line numbers represent and how they apply to our budget.
Okay, and then Matt, you're gonna get an answer for us.
Yeah.
If it's a typo or if it's,
Yeah.
because Mark just looked it up online, there aren't any, or I think Tammy, I'm sorry.
Tammy did,
Yeah,
yeah.
the new account that Lori just
Might
developed
be a
for
new
the
account.
upcoming budget.
Yeah, so we'll find out, and Matt will send a note home with your kids or something.
Okay.
Okay, Matt, so you just let him know? Okay, thank you, thank you. Hey, Andrew.
Andy?
Review and approve the minutes of the February 17th and March 4th meetings. So for some reason, we also got a copy of the February 11th meeting, which is actually the school district annual meeting. And I noticed, Andy, and I forgot, nobody ever really approves them, right? They just kind
What's
of, the annual meeting minutes, you just kind of file them away, right?
Well, no, I have Bob Backus sign them.
Okay, has that been done?
Yeah, for last year, not for this year.
Okay, so you just deal with that. We don't have to do anything with the.
No.
Okay, so if anybody wants a copy, I have a copy of it, if you want to look at it. I mean, I glanced through it, and it made everything as clear as mud. What was that one article that we had?
Changing the date?
Yeah, change the date.
That one.
I think it captured it pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah, there's like 3 votes there, so that
Yeah.
definitely, that was fun, huh?
Yeah.
So I have the February 17th meeting, and then the March 4th meeting. So is there any, I think, Mark, you had some names that were,
Yeah, the February 17th, there was no administration at that particular meeting. So Bill, Tammy, and Matt to be taken off. Other than that, it seemed accurate.
okay, so can we, let's do that one separately then. So can somebody make a motion to approve the February 17th meeting minutes without?
Sure.
Okay, so Rick moved
With the changes?
with the changes.
Okay, I second.
Mark seconds it. Is there any more discussion?
Nope.
Yes, Matt?
I just noticed under next meeting, it says March 4th at 6:30. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Oh, that was the one that was on a Wednesday night.
yeah, that was the one,
Yeah.
the reorganizational meeting.
Okay.
That's when we met.
Got it, thanks.
It does, no, I'll bring that up in a second.
Okay, so if we're all, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor of the February 17th minutes, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Appears to pass unanimously. I have the Wednesday, March 4th minutes. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve them?
I make a motion that we approve the March 4th minutes.
Okay, do we have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Mark seconds it, so there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those are
More questions?
Approved.
Speaking of minutes, is there anyone taking tonight's minutes?
yes,
The cameras.
The camera.
and then Peter's gonna write it off the camera.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And Matt, you're just gonna take some notes, or, no? Okay,
I'm not taking notes.
Okay.
okay, cool.
Do you want me to take some notes?
Nope, that's fine.
One,
Okay.
one thing of note, our The agenda is saying, our next meeting is at 6:30 in Wardsboro.
Yeah, we'll fix that.
6, so.
We always warn the meetings, and our meetings say 6, so that was just a typo. So under correspondence, I have one letter from Matt. Dear members of the River Valley Unified School District Board, I would like to take the opportunity to respond to Mrs. Kraft's letter to the school board dated January 30th, 2020. I met with Mr. and Mrs. Crafts during the week of February 24th, where we discussed some of their more specific concerns, including the role of actions and how we can improve communication in that area. As you may know, the IB program places a strong emphasis on taking action as compared to just researching or creating materials on a particular topic. Students are asked to take action, to do something rather than just talk about it. We certainly do not want students to shy away from the complex topics, but rather to dig into them and work through them. Regarding students being graded on who they are, the Crafts were referring to our analysis of student progress towards demonstrating the characteristics associated with the IB attributes. As part of the IB program, we use a group of behavior attributes that guide our daily work, help clarify behavioral expectations in public spaces, habits of mind, and habits of work. These attributes are rated on a slightly different scale than other academic standards in an effort to distinguish them from those skills. A 3-point scale for this indication how often a student demonstrates the behaviors associated with the attribute. Never, sometimes, most of the time, for example. This system is meant to help identify the behaviors that represent the attributes or values we hold highly and encourage students to strive for most of the time. In her letter, Ms. Crafts questioned the strength and priority of the team of teachers here at the Dover School as compared to past staff members. In terms of the strength of the Dover staff team, certainly the team remains strong and dedicated, placing children at the top of our priority list every day. They prove this through their dedication to children, long hours, and high-quality lesson preparation and delivery. Ms. Crafts and her family, along with all other Dover School families, enjoy that benefit every day. Ms. Crafts mentioned that some traditions had ended when Mr. Davis retired. Of course, we all miss Mr. Davis, but when veteran teachers leave, often the richness they take with them was a result of their personal investment in individual skills. Unfortunately, there are times when beloved traditions must be replaced by other activities. New staff members bring new ideas and new traditions. This is a natural part of the growth and change of any organization. It is true that the Dover School has a long tradition of strong core values and broad general knowledge of the global village, as Ms. Crafts noted. While I was not present during the decision-making period, my understanding of at least one reason the community chose to pursue the IB program was to further develop those traditions and to define the academic program within the structure of the international accreditation offered by the IB program. The expenses associated with the authorization were justified on the basis of the community's ability to offer world-class education and to play a role in marketing the wonderful work being done at the Dover School on behalf of the local economic development. This in addition to the ability to attract families in support of developing the local workforce and overall economic development. Finally, to provide the next level of challenge to a school community doing well as measured by the basic usual measures schools are typically measured by. Much of the staff turnover during the past 4 years has been on account of added staff, as in the case of the added 5th grade teacher, expected retirements, and unexpected moves. Most of the changes were anticipated when I was hired, as noted by the hiring committee. Every new hire during my tenure has been enthusiastic about assimilating the IB instructional style because they understand the value of and the opportunity presented by teaching within a program that is considered the gold standard globally. In terms of enrollment, with the exception of last year to this year, enrollment has been relatively steady over the past several years. In terms of test scores, there have been many factors that may have influenced this change. Due to the small class sizes, changes in assessment and staff turnover will be very difficult to attribute declining test scores to any one thing, including the addition of a formal structure to the academic program. As a school, we responded to the trend in SBAC scores in the following ways. There's 5 bullet points. We implemented a math achievement plan which yielded a 15% increase in math proficiency on SBAC scores in the first year of implementation, 2018-2019. We added a benchmark assessment system that gives us a significant amount of skill level data for each student. In 2018-2019, our fall to winter benchmark performance was excellent. This year's results are even better, indicating that in January, 87% of our students are in the low risk category for achieving grade level expectation in math skills by the end of the year. And math has never been one of our strong subjects, has it? Our staff participated in significant professional development in math instructional practices over the past 2 years. We are seeing the results of that investment now. We have made significant changes to the unified art schedule as well as daily classroom schedules, ensuring there is dedicated time daily for core math and ELA instruction as well as WIN time, which stands for What I Need, in every classroom K through 6. This time allows teachers to work with small groups of students on specific gaps in basic skills. We're in the process of implementing the supervisor union's academic support team model of targeted intervention. Regarding Ms. Kraft's comments about teacher burnout, I must disagree. I believe our teachers are stronger and more reflective now than at any point during my tenure. Admittedly, during the final years of IB candidacy phase, the staff was working extremely hard to meet authorization requirements and the workload was formidable. Since the formal authorization in the spring of 2018, most of that tension has been released. The following steps have been taken to manage the institutional stress we face at school. 1, the WCSU has provided trauma-informed schools training for all employees over the past 2 years, which has allowed us to gain a better understanding of the challenges faced by staff members and systems to address those challenges. Second point, we have 2 delegates representing Dover in the WCSU Trauma Catalyst Group to address specific institutional stress facing our employees. Third point is the Catalyst members and I meet regularly to ensure this work reaches our staff effectively. Our delegation has regular staff meeting time on a monthly basis. And lastly, the staff members participate in regular wellness activities as directed by our health PE teacher and spend a significant amount of time collaborating, working together on various school and community projects, leveling out the tremendous load teachers face. Frankly, I don't know that we've ever dedicated more resources to stress management than we do now. This Dover School faculty is fiercely committed to the well-being and education of all students. Teachers regularly work 9 to 10-hour days, often spending weekends, holidays, and vacations preparing their lessons, not because they feel pressure to do so, but because they are driven to provide the best education possible, and they have a very high expectation of themselves and their work. In terms of the school website, there are some areas of the website that are out of date. Most, if not all, of the pieces that are out of date have been remedied. This is more due to a lack of administrative systems than teacher overload. Teachers and tech support staff have been engaged to help remedy this problem. While I was not present when the program was initially described to parents, I can assure the board that I observe classroom instruction almost every day, and the IB program is being implemented with fidelity as required by the International Baccalaureate Organization. The IB program remains generally the same, however, the concept of student agency fostering more independent choice and input into their inquiries has been added recently. The change in Think Like Planners is purely teachers' changes in the name, approaches to learning. The skills have not changed, however, it may be that what Mrs. Kraft sees as different than originally explained. Reflection and change are a required part of the action cycle and certainly are required for improvement. The designated core instruction times I mentioned earlier are dedicated to teaching basic skills. There's also time dedicated to IB projects within the school day. Teachers do an excellent job of balancing student needs with time. It is best practice to provide students with some sort of schedule so they can anticipate and be prepared for what is coming during the day. The fact that we may label inquiry time certainly means all the reading, writing, math, science, history that may go into a given unit. We also use win time, what I need, because it allows us to dedicate even more time to gaps in basic skills as needed. This year, spring of 2020, marks the end of our second full year of implementing the program as a fully authorized school. Parental and community understanding of the IB program is a regular topic of discussion among the IB coordinators and principals. The IB program is complex and requires a significant and ongoing informational campaign to help community members fully understand the language and concepts. This is something we've tried to establish, but certainly could use more time and resources to implement. We feel that students are doing an excellent job of assimilating the language and concepts of the IP program. They may not always be able to communicate their knowledge with their families, but we continue to try new ways to improve home-school communications. Mrs. Kraft noted it is commendable to try new things, a position I fully support. The school community should feel proud that they decided to take on implementing a world-class academic program in a small school with small resources. We believe in the power of reflection. The program will undergo a 2-year review this spring, at which time we'll have more data about how parents, students, and staff feel the implementation is progressing. As always, please let me know if you have any further questions, and thank you for your time and continued support. Matt Martin. So we do have it on the schedule to discuss this, and you were waiting for, you were going to do a survey. So,
Yeah.
and that goes out soon?
We expect that to go out next week.
I think we're on the schedule of the first meeting in May.
It's originally the second meeting in May, but there was a
Right, because we wanted to do it in Dover.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would
Well, I just
would it be possible for you to email that letter to the whole board? There was a lot there.
Yeah.
I'd just like to be able to read it.
I didn't read it very well.
You read it extremely well, but you read it a lot faster than my mind can process every
I
word.
only stumbled over every other word. Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Everybody good, anybody? Okay, old business, equity, calendar for discussion. So you should have a thing that looks like this, and it shows goals for the year. And one of the things was, Laura had asked us to look at local equity definition, and we also talked about unity. So that's supposed to be in April. So Matt, just make sure that between you, Tammy, and Bill, we have that for one of our next meetings so that we can discuss that.
Got it.
The other thing we wanted to talk about was working on our web and communications presence. So I think, so we have website design, we have web and communication presence as a goal for April. And we just asked that this stay on the calendar. We have all that stuff from last year, when Mark wasn't on the board, he was helping us. So can we just get that back, and maybe for our next meeting, we can do those two things, just at least start on those? Now, isn't Wyndham Central working on some new web stuff too? Because I'd asked about email addresses, I think, and you guys,
Tammy, have you heard any? I haven't heard any news on that project. But I can ask Bill. We can ask Bill about it.
If you let me know what he says also, because I'm trying to put a mock-up together. I planned on having ready for today, but my dog ate my homework.
okay. The other, okay. B22A complaint policy, discussion and possible action. So we had at the meeting on we did public complaints about personnel policy D10. So that's been moved to warn
You know what?
on the 17th.
I have to apologize. That was a typo in the minutes that I forgot to bring up. That policy is actually B22.
Okay.
Um,
So it wasn't policy B.
It wasn't D10. D10, I don't think, I have my book at home, but the small folder right in front of you is all the policies. I don't think there is a D10.
Okay, so it was B22.
Yeah. And that was warned.
So that was warned, so that hasn't been voted, approved yet.
Can I make a motion
Yes,
to approve that?
yeah.
Then I do.
So does everybody remember policy B22, which was complaint?
Public complaints, yeah.
So we have a motion to approve policy B22. It's been warned, since February 17th, so it's been over a month. Matt or Tammy, did you guys get any comments from anybody? No? Okay, so we have a motion. Do I have a second to his motion?
Sure.
Okay, so Rick seconds a motion, and it's to approve policy B22.
22.
So if there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so it's unanimous. B22 is now a policy. It's been approved by the board. Matt, will you just get one that, I don't seem to have one. So can we just have one so you can just write that it was approved on this date?
Is this public complaints?
Yes.
And I have it as B22A. Is
No,
that-
no, that's the other one. There was one specific to staff.
I just have 22 copies of 22A in my
Okay,
packet.
we just need to,
That's on the-
right, it's not in the packet, so it got missed.
You just need a
Okay,
blank copy of it?
I need a blank copy of it.
Okay.
It was personnel complaints.
Personnel, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's see if I can find it.
Okay. Auditor appointments. Andrew.
Yeah.
Well, we can address B22A.
Oh, I'm sorry. B22A, complaint
Sorry,
policy.
Andy.
So, complaint policy, so we asked that there wasn't a general complaint policy because it used to be a little bit less specific, but now it's specific to staff members. So we wanted a complaint policy if somebody had a complaint other than a staff complaint, like they thought the color of the school building was not proper, or, you know, that the school bus shouldn't be yellow, whatever. So we have, so they took B22 and just added a little A after it, so now that's our complaint policy for public complaints. So everybody should have a copy of that,
Yeah.
and should have had a copy for a while. We are practicing social distancing, so. You're on it? Cool. So, B22A, is there, so we have to warn this to be posted, and then we get to vote after it's been posted for a couple weeks.
I'd like to move that we post it with one change.
Okay, well, why don't we discuss your change first?
Under resolving complaints,
Yeah,
the last word of that sentence should be complaint, not complainant.
yeah, and I thought that was
I
why
thought that
we,
was fixed.
I thought it was supposed to be fixed.
okay, I'm gonna do it on this one and give this one to Matt. Okay, Matt?
Yeah.
Wait, so what, the word should be what?
The complaint should be in writing, stating the issue and supporting facts, not the complainant should be in writing. It's
Yeah.
the,
Okay,
It's the last word of the first sentence under
under resolving.
resolving
complaints.
complaints.
oh, well, there's two.
The complaint should be in writing.
The complaint should be.
Yes.
The complaint should be encouraged first to bring a complaint to the principal.
Which is
Right.
correct.
That's
The
correct.
complaint should be in writing, stating the issues and supporting facts.
So that
so-
should be, the complaint should be in writing.
Right.
The last word of the sentence only should be changed to complaint from complainant.
Well, it's not the last word, it's
Not
the
the last one of the
second.
sentence.
It's the second word.
Last word of the line, I
Yes,
apologize.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
it's
yes.
the last word.
All right,
Okay.
that's what
Line.
confused me. Yep, gotcha.
Okay, is everybody good with that?
Somebody have a dictionary for me?
Okay, so, Mark, with that change, are you willing to make a motion to approve, to warn this?
To warn, I am, yes.
Okay,
I
so-
made that one.
Mark moves to warn it. Will somebody second that?
Second.
Laura seconds it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so unanimously that carries. Matt, I'm gonna leave that here for you.
Thanks.
Okay, auditor appointments. So we asked at our annual meeting, we talked about auditors and whether we needed them or not. So we asked Bill to look into it. And it's interesting.
Yes, Bill or Andy?
Well, we asked both of them, I think, right?
I think you did.
So Bill came up with it, because we're a union school district, we need auditors But if we were a town school district, we didn't? Is that what you got, or
I
what did
don't
you
know
get?
what Bill got.
Okay. What did you get?
Here's what I got. I got that, and this is me playing lawyer here. Now, you folks have an auditing firm come in once a year, do you? Right?
Yes.
Takes care of all the SU's books, including yours, including everything you do?
Yes.
All right. So basically, you know, the statute says you gotta elect 3 auditors. There's also a statute, so school law is newer than town law. A lot more town laws, right? So when they decided to make all these laws pertaining to schools, they adopted this little law here that says, when in doubt, look at the town laws. If we didn't cover it under school laws, the same laws that apply to towns apply to schools. And the town law says that at an annual meeting, you can vote to eliminate the office of auditor. So basically, you know, if you ask 2 different lawyers, they'll give you 2 different opinions. If you want to be sure that you can eliminate the office of auditor, or you want to be on firmer ground, I would ask an attorney whom you pay for an opinion on that. It's still going to be an opinion. The bottom line is that the people's interests are taken care of by the auditing firm whom you hire. And if you were to decide to vote to eliminate auditors, worst case scenario, somebody challenges you on it, and either you go to court or you say, okay, we'll appoint auditors and move forward.
Which it seems like it's gonna happen anyways, because nobody seems to come forward.
Right. So it's kind of, unfortunately, there's no case law. Nobody's ever taken a school district to court for eliminating the office of auditor, but, you know, there's something to hang your hat on if you wanted to try it.
Okay, so do you know a person by the name of do you know a person by the name of J.P. Isabel at Vermont.gov?
Yeah, JP, yeah.
Okay, so Bill sent this to JP also.
Yeah, right.
And JP, so you did really good because he mentions via 16 VSA 706J.
Yeah,
And says it says a town school district does not elect auditors. However, for a union school district, it seems that 3 auditors are required to be elected.
right,
Because I think he says for that shall.
right.
So if nobody runs, it's just like anything else, I think. So we should just probably appoint 3 auditors and maybe put this on for next year to discuss about voting it down, referencing.
Yeah, I would say you have a lot of latitude here, okay? I would say JP's gonna give you a very conservative opinion, as he should, right? I'm sort of telling you, you can do this, and under your circumstances, I feel comfortable telling you that you're looking out for everybody's interests by hiring that auditing firm to come in once a year and take care of the books, right? JP's not gonna tell you that. If you decide not to appoint anybody and leave those positions vacant, still no harm that I can see to the people's interests or to the fiscal responsibility. But that's up to you. You want to appoint auditors, go ahead. You know, the downside of either not appointing auditors or eliminating them is that somebody challenges you on that. And what are the consequences of that? Well, you then appoint auditors, or, you know, or not, whatever. But the books are taken care of is the bottom line.
Right.
And it's your decision.
And we can comfortably go before the voters of both towns, I think, and say that we're comfortable that our money's being looked after. Nobody went to Bermuda for a 2-week winter vacation.
How about Bahamas?
What the-
They may have gone to the
They were pretty
Bahamas.
comfortable with that this year, right, when we voted?
Right.
So, and they
Yeah.
also voted not to elect.
It was
Well, it's not that
their
they didn't
vote.
vote, but
They didn't vote
nobody,
not to, they, yeah.
nobody came forward, and Bob went through.
Well,
it.
they
I thought there was more to
actually,
it than
they
that,
voted
though,
to
wasn't it?
bypass the article.
They voted to bypass
Yeah.
the article, not just to not elect someone.
Actually, you know what?
Is that correct?
God, it right here, guys.
You got the minutes right here.
Dr. Backus explained the allowable methods of appointing. Dr. Backus knows voters could choose to not to nominate anyone. It was suggested to pass over the nominations. Mr. Captain noted there had been nothing due this year, so Ms. Rand moved to pass over Article 4. So they just passed over.
Passed it over, so it wasn't that anyone came forward. So you're saying we can not appoint someone this year, and then next year we could put on to no longer have auditors? We put that on the warning next year?
Yeah, so basically it's your decision. I don't think it's a big deal if you leave the positions open and don't appoint anybody. Technically, you should probably, within a reasonable time frame, appoint auditors because they weren't elected. But in this particular situation, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You have an auditing firm who's going to come in
Yeah.
and do the books better than any elected auditors you could elect at town meeting.
Right.
So if you leave them open, in my opinion, though you might not be following the letter of the law,
Yeah, well, I think because the voters determined to pass it over, but it wasn't just someone stepping forward, they basically gave us the okay, that it's okay not to, for us to appoint. That's the way I see it, but
For us to appoint.
Well, I am.
to appoint.
Sorry.
He's
Yes.
been raising his hand. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So since the auditor position is a paid position, I believe it's on the board, right? Would that then become a surplus for the school system, or would that then, those funds just be allocated for the professional who are hiring to come in to do the books?
No, it would just be, we wouldn't spend the money in that line item.
Okay, so then would
Not
that
every-
be a
not every
surplus?
line- Just because there's money in a line item doesn't mean it's always got to get spent. So
Okay.
if I could predict what's going to happen a year and a half out, I would not be here.
Well, no, I understand.
We would
No
miss
one
you.
has a crystal ball.
Right, so.
And
so-
last year, the auditors didn't do anything.
Right,
Even though we
as
had them.
Randy Capitani said at the
Yeah.
meeting.
Right.
I think it's, yeah.
Yeah, so the questions to the board, is the board comfortable without appointing auditors, or do we want to ask the three auditors we had before if they'd like to be appointed again and do nothing again for the year?
I'm pretty comfortable. I
With
would
not
say
having them?
I'd like to at least attempt to appoint if people have an interest and put on the warning next year, asking the people whether they want to eliminate that position.
Okay, Dwight?
I feel comfortable not having them because the people kind of told us this year that they were willing to pass over it because they didn't do anything.
Okay, and you agreed with Dwight. Where'd you come down? Did you agree with
Yes.
them? Okay, so we're not gonna appoint anybody this year, and if somebody makes like Andy said, if somebody holds our feet to the fire, then we'll do what we have to do.
Worst case scenario is we have to appoint someone.
If someone
That's the worst
challenges
case
us
scenario.
in the court.
Right.
Why would they do that if it wasn't any purpose? Is there any-
Okay.
Some people just like to bring things up.
I think you made a good point at the meeting, what was it, fence watcher?
Yeah.
Where
Oh,
of
that
coal,
was my
I mean,
favorite.
these are all
Where of coal.
on town meeting day as positions that are still
Oh,
having
we
to
can-
fill, but yet nobody weighs coal anymore.
And those are all money, you know what I'm saying? You cut, if they let you guys get away from those things, right? You get
Well,
money.
we had three auditors last year, but they didn't do anything, so they didn't collect any
They
money.
don't meet, they don't get paid, so.
Right, it's only when they meet. It's like the moderator doesn't get money every month. He just, if he wants to put in to get paid when he has a meeting.
But we do budget for it, that's the question.
Yeah, but that just carries over in the surplus, or if it makes us less of a deficit. Andrew, thank you. It's really good when we
Thank you,
can
Andy.
get together and discuss. So,
Thank
to get Andy out of here, I'm gonna skip around a little bit. One of the, just because I asked him to stop in and we're running a little late. One of the things that Andy had brought up at a couple meetings, or I think the meeting in Wardsboro, was about the advisory committee. So Randy referenced, which he brought us a copy of, our Articles of Agreement and Article 17. Will take appropriate steps to include residents from all member towns in policy and budget development. So it says the board may establish for each school a building-based school advisory committee. So I think Andrew felt that could have addressed some issues that had gotten brought up, or I don't want to put words in your mouth. Why don't I let you?
That's page 2 of the thing I just handed you. And basically, it occurred to me during the informational meetings, given some of the questions, that this might be a way to involve parents and members of the community in the budget process, so during the year, so that the questions didn't come up right at the end of the budget process when you're not prepared to deal with them. But other than just having read the Articles of Agreement and it popping into my mind, that's all I really know about this. So I figured I'd copy the article for you and let you folks and the principals do what you will with it.
So one of the things is, this was originally put in when there was 3 schools, and we were spread out a little further, when Marlboro was still considering. And some of the things is, we have allowed a lot of public opportunities for participation in policy and budget development because we don't do anything behind closed doors. So every time we discuss the budget, starting in September, we were on TV, and it is in open board meetings. We do really work hard to make sure we hold meetings in different towns, and that was one of the things we kind of faced when we were a 3-town community, because then it would be even longer before we get back into towns. We do we try to share information on the website, even though I know the website's been a little tough, and videos. So I'm not against a school-based advisory group. I just wonder if we would get any more participation or if everybody would wait till the end. So I'm not sure what other people's thoughts are, but it's definitely something we can either ask about. We can see if there is interest from people to do that, and or
Not.
well, no, my thought was, how do we get people to understand when we're, it's, I think it may be more of a reaching out to get more people interested before the budget's finalized, while we're actually talking about budgets. And maybe we need to hold some specific meetings in September when we give instruction to the superintendent's office and the administration about what the budget wants to look like, and make a point of making sure that we advertise that. I don't know if that may not be a better solution, but then, everybody can always say, I couldn't make that. You never get a chance for everybody to make meetings. So we in Dover, and I don't know if you guys ever did in Wardsboro, we did actually have a budget committee at one time, and it was basically the same people. It didn't bring any new people in, but again, that was a long time ago, and I think we should retry things, and it is something that we are allowed to do. So Andy, I appreciate you bringing it up. I think it's a really good point. I'd like to hear, if you have nothing else to add, I'd like to just hear from our administrators and see. I know, like, we used to do coffee with the board after, morning sing on Fridays, and then that kind of, people stopped coming. Is there other times that we
tried that too, coffee conversation. We tried to offer it after our all-school meeting, and they were well attended, maybe 2 or 3 parents in the beginning, and then as time went on, it was me waiting for parents.
Right.
Having a conversation with yourself.
Sure.
I think maybe because a lot of parents work, I know my wife wanted to meet, go to the other board meetings after school sing, or the coffee meetings, to discuss and understand more of not the politics, but more what's going on in our community here at school. If we did have a different time, and maybe if it was announced, one thing that's really great about this school, and I believe Wardsboro too, is that not only do we get an email, but we get a text that says, hey, look at your email. This is what's going on. I wish that more boards in our community, especially the Water Abatement Board,
hang on.
also did that.
Yeah, just be specific to us, because we have no say or control over any other board.
If maybe those meetings were advertised, or if we were getting the text for maybe later in the evening on different dates, we might have a better turnout because of different parents' work schedules and some parents being single parents, having to work. I think maybe it's just the time that doesn't work for a lot of parents, where we might have a better turnout. And if we could try that, and then we were texted and given the emails like we are most of the meetings here, that it might be more advantageous.
Matt, do you send out a text that there's gonna be a school board meeting?
We don't announce the board meetings by text. It is on the calendar, on the school website.
How hard would that be for us to do? Would that add an
Pretty
additional
easy.
burden to you folks, or would that be pretty?
It's pretty fast and pretty easy.
Can we send that out and then just let people know where the agenda is?
Sure.
And maybe, then maybe that kind of answers a little bit of what you're saying. The other thing is, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just a follow-up question. So you're thinking, I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking during budget development, say in the fall when we're, starting to think about the programs, is that what you're thinking in terms of time?
That's, yeah.
No, I'm thinking all board meetings.
Just all of them across the board?
Right, because, again, there may be something that somebody's thinking about, and may not have to do with budget, and, they may say, God, I want to go, and it just gives them a little extra reminder.
Yeah.
I think he makes a good point about not everybody, I don't think we're gonna be able to have 6 different meetings, so we can have, 6 different time periods for everybody, but I think we can definitely get it out there more to the staff or more to the public, and if that's a way that, some parents get it, I'm all for reaching out to parents.
Question for Matt. That texting service system that
Yes.
you use, can non-parents be included on that if they wanted to?
They can be.
Okay. Just come to you or Tammy?
Yeah, we can make custom lists that we include in that or not include.
I like the idea of obviously getting the agendas out, but I think if we can have, if there's a certain theme that we're hitting on at that meeting,
Well, yeah.
that was just, you were getting at before, whether it be transportation or the, development of the budget, so just kind of hit that one theme home, like this is your chance to talk about this topic. I know that had happened to me in the past, I'm just go to a meeting hoping, and the agenda's there, I get it, but sometimes it's hard to know. If a parent's told, we're gonna be talking about transportation today, we're gonna be talking about the budget today, we're gonna be talking about development of school programs, you might get people to show up for that.
Then we have to pick which
Well,
items on an
it's
agenda.
the agenda
we
edition,
go-
it's
or-
both.
I think we can ask our administration to just kind of they're gonna have a feel for what people think are important in their schools. So we'll just, they can just say, hey, look, one of the things that's gonna be discussed is something,
Right.
but please check the agenda for a full
Yeah, exactly.
list.
Yeah.
Is
That's
that
a good
too
idea.
hard, that's not putting too much pressure on you guys, is
We
it?
just need to coordinate, because
Yeah.
we don't work off of the same exact system, we just
Yeah.
need to
Right.
coordinate times, so that we're all sending it out at the same time, so everyone's getting the same information at the same time.
And that kind of fits what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
The other thing I would like to, just because Andy has brought it up a couple times, I think he got brought up at our annual meeting, is let's just see if we can weigh out, is there any interest in the building, in residents and parents? I don't know if it include residents. Yeah, it says residents and members. Is there any interest in meeting with the administration and/or a group to talk about what's going on in the schools, and just, we'll gauge the interest. I know sometimes we send something out and ask for volunteers for something, we get no response, but this would be a good chance just to gauge how many people would be interested and would maybe participate.
So can you say that again from the top, just so I have a good,
Just that, the board is thinking about a school advisory committee, that could meet maybe with the administrators in each building to, Andy's got a copy of it. Is that what you just gave him?
I'm giving them a copy of that article from the Articles of Agreement that it talks about school advisory committees, so just for their information.
Matt, it specifically says a building-based school advisory committee.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I would just suggest that with surveys going out, that might be a nice place to put that, if we could
Okay.
put that information in
Well,
a
you guys
survey. And
do
then
surveys, so,
we could put that
yeah,
information
I
in
just
that.
think, just let's gauge what interest there is,
We were wondering a little bit about that work being redundant to the board. Were there any concerns about that?
Well, let's see how it goes.
See what the interest is first.
I mean, I guess if you get no interest, then
Yeah.
it's a moot point. And then I just think it's the charge of what the committee does, the advisory group is. And I know there's some, West River has those, so we can maybe, instead of reinventing the wheel, maybe we'll, if there is any interest, then we can look into what West River does and see how that fits for us. Is everybody okay with that?
What's in the articles is pretty specific. I mean, it's open meeting laws. It even includes making videos, making them available online, so that would be an expense that we would incur. So I just think it just.
Well, we do, all those four things, that's what we do. We've been
right.
doing that from day one.
Right, but we're talking about separate meetings now.
No, the advisory committee would meet separately for
Right.
that building, but
Right.
we wouldn't meet separately with each advisory committee. The advisory committees would talk to the principal, and the principal can bring whatever that advisory group is to us.
Right, but this is what the advisory committee has to follow, based on the articles. That's all I'm saying.
No, we can
We'd have
adjust
to
that.
amend it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can do whatever, because I'm sure the West River group did the same exact thing, had the same exact article, but they just put some guidelines to help guide the group more than this, or more specific. So let's just see what the West River group did, because they had the same exact article. And I know they are doing advisory groups, but they're also 5 buildings, and they're in a little different situation than us.
Different towns, yeah.
Yeah. Andy, you good?
I didn't read it that those meetings necessarily had to be televised.
No, I don't
I thought they
either.
were talking about,
It has a colon at the end of that paragraph.
yeah, but if you read
Yeah.
that sentence, it's not referring to those meetings.
Right, it's the Unified District Board will provide public opportunities for participation in policy and budget development by practices including holding meetings in different member towns, we do that. Holding several budget information sessions, we do that. Sharing information on the board and school website, we hope we're doing that as best we can. And making videos of board meetings available online.
It's a
It's-
poorly written paragraph.
It's poorly written.
If those are separate, I think it's written I think the way it's written, that those are meant to be included in the paragraph above it.
No, I
I don't
don't.
agree. But it's poorly written, I agree with that. I think it's just kind of listing a list of items that the board needs to.
So that whole last sentence could be a new paragraph.
Right.
And, I don't know why it wasn't, and if, the whole thing was kind of a blur. I mean, I think that's what I'm saying, is I think we're doing everything that we said, it's just there's not a committee that is meeting with the principal to advise on the building, specific building.
Yeah.
And we've never told anybody they couldn't come to us and give us advice or their thoughts or.
I was only referring to if we have this committee,
Yeah.
unless we change this article, they need to follow those.
No, I disagree totally. But let's have it, it may be a moot point, there may be nobody that comes along. Hard to tell, hard telling, not knowing. The other thing Andy did for us is, Andy at the end of the last meeting, I think it was somewhat talking with also, can't think of her name, in Wards, Jackie, the town clerk, was that there was some concern about the election of a person from Wardsboro for the school board, and then, could we vote both school board members at the school district annual meeting instead of in Dover at the town meeting, by ballot in Wardsboro, by floor vote at the town meeting? Because even though they used to vote from the floor, it was at the school district meeting the night before.
So basically, when we were warning the town meetings and your annual meeting, the process was real clunky, and didn't work awesome, you know? Everybody had to sign everybody else's warning. You know, questions about whether, you know, if the moderator for the school district was not also the moderator for Wardsboro, how would they open a separate school meeting to then elect their director at their town meeting? You know, like, and in, there's a lot of clunkiness to the way we elect our district, our school district directors. In Dover, you know, if I wasn't your clerk and you needed to run an election separate from town elections, you know, as long as I'm your clerk, that's not going to be a problem. As long as I'm the clerk in Dover, even if you elect somebody else for your clerk, it's not going to be a problem. I'll take care of that. But there's a lot of clunkiness to the system, the way it works, and I was thinking, gosh, it would be so easy and simple if you just elected your directors all at your annual meeting from the floor. Simple, no problems. And I wanted to talk to you about that, and that's why I'm here. And I've kind of decided it should be clunky in the way it is. Because I don't think that's a great idea. Wardsboro didn't come up with a director this year and from the floor.
Usual too, they have to stop the meeting and then enter into a new meeting.
Yeah.
What was the term they used? To suspend the meeting
Yeah.
and then enter into our meeting and then go back into.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but clunky is a good word.
It's clunky. I don't, and how do you improve that? I don't know. I in Dover, I love to have people petition to be on an Australian ballot because they need to be invested, at least enough to get signatures on a page. You know, whereas if you just show up to a floor vote and nobody, you don't feel like standing up in front of everybody and putting yourself forward in that way, nobody knows you're there. Nobody knows to vote for. I like doing it the way we do it in Dover. I don't know what would improve Wardsboro, and I don't personally think it should be changed, as clunky as it is. But I put that on here for you guys to talk about because you can change these things. And what I gave you on page 3 and 4 is what you need to know in order to change these
And
things.
this is the stuff you gave us when we were discussing the original change.
I gave you this stuff already. I just cut it all down to specifically voting for your directors. If you want to change something there, you can change something. And you don't need a vote at a town meeting. You guys can change it as the board. And I wanted you to be aware of that, know how to do it, and discuss amongst yourselves what you want to do.
So historically, you know, remember when we formed this district, the state required us to make, the first election had to be by ballot. And there was 3 of us because we were electing a whole new board. And then because Wardsboro had always voted from the floor, there was some discussion. We talked about it for almost 2 years, I think. You know, because the first year wasn't because we didn't have to elect the first year. It was 2, 3, and 4 year positions.
Yeah.
So but we felt that, you know, Dover and Wardsboro could be separate. We would respect each other's town's uniqueness. And that's why we went back to the floor vote in Wardsboro. But according to what Andy's saying, we can change it back to a ballot vote. That may make town meeting in Wardsboro less funky, I guess, or less clunky.
So going to a ballot vote in Wardsboro at their town meeting might be problematic, and you want to talk to their town clerk about that because they don't currently do that.
They
For
don't
me,
vote anybody.
they vote from the floor for everything in Wardsboro. So for me, it's simple to put another race on the town meeting ballot. It's
Right.
It's nothing to me. But in Wardsboro, it would be then they'd have to be open from 7 a.m. or 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and get their BCA together to hand count votes, and it would be a big production for them, whereas for me, it's no big deal.
And if they had a special, if we had a special school district meeting just for Wardsboro voters the night before, like they used to, because there's nothing other than just voting that position, there may be nobody shows up.
Sure.
If we try to go, I mean, so, yeah, it's what's the,
So can we vote from the floor at our annual meeting for Wardsboro?
I believe you could do that, yeah.
I would think that would be the best approach if it's
Yeah.
for us.
well, so I had one question about that, though, because one of the things Andy had mentioned was, we can give, if you're from Wardsboro, we have to identify who the voters are. And one of the things that, remember in the first vote, when we voted the ballot for the budget, they had to be commingled, so you couldn't tell who was
Yeah.
voting for the budget and who wasn't. So I just want to, if we were to do something like that, I would want to make sure that we can protect, because it isn't, we don't want to know who voted up and down the budget, and so we don't want to say, okay, all the Wardsboro people sit here and all the Dover people sit here, so we can vote that one article. But then when we vote on the budget, we can say, oh, everybody that went aye is over there, and everybody that went nay is there.
When people come into the room and you're checking them off the checklist, you can have slips of paper, red for Dover, blue for Wardsboro. Jackie hands out blue slips of paper to voters. I hand out red slips. When it's time to vote for your director in Wardsboro, blue slips are in the air.
Then you're still identifying what town people are from.
Yeah,
It's just,
But just for that one article, because that's the only time. we
Why
would ever-
wouldn't you want to identify what town people are from?
Well, I just thought, because of when we voted the budget, remember, one of the things is when we commingled the ballots
I got you.
on the budget vote,
I got
we
you.
didn't want to be able to say, hey, Wardsboro
I got
or
you.
Dover voted the budget down. We didn't want to pit.
So you only do pieces of paper when you elect your officer, you do voice vote for the budget.
Right. So it
Or
could be
a
very
call for a
simple
paper
that,
ballot.
Jackie gives a piece of paper to the people from Wardsboro, and we have that article be, elect from the floor, the Wardsboro school director, and just the people with the orange or whatever colored paper are the only ones that get to vote.
Yeah.
And we keep the Dover vote as a ballot like we have, because,
Yeah.
like you said, it's not a big deal.
Right.
And
I think an easier approach is we only really need to vote if more than one person is nominated.
That's right.
So if two people are nominated, then we can do it by paper ballot. And when you go up to vote, they can check your
right.
name off the registry list,
That's
knowing
right.
you're a Wardsboro
That's
resident.
right.
so,
That's
well,
right.
let me ask this before we go any further. We've got 3 people here from Wardsboro. So are you folks interested in changing the way we vote again in Wardsboro?
I think we've been having a tough time to get anybody. I mean, I don't know as if going back to a ballot to be
I
voted
would
on.
back to a ballot.
But would you think at the annual school district meeting?
I don't know if you're gonna get anybody to come forward there either.
Well, I think you would.
See?
We historically we've met the night before, and there was hardly anyone from let's say parent age at this meeting at the town meeting. So we certainly would have more people who are invested in the school at the annual
It
meeting.
seemed like historically, we voted it from the floor, and historically, we appointed somebody, almost every single time.
Huh.
You didn't?
We appointed somebody.
Well, I went
Right,
to
that was the night
yeah,
before.
the night before meeting.
Right.
Because I went to the last couple, and I remember going,
Yeah.
you were in there, and you refused one time, and Rick refused.
Yeah, but we've had better luck.
Yeah, because
So-
you guys agreed. Thank you.
But I mean, it's definitely a concern, not having someone and seeing the clunkiness in the process. It's almost like it's got to be a setup. Like, someone's got to show up that meeting knowing they want to be on the board. Whereas you'll have more people at the annual meeting. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think it would be better.
Saying that's why if you go around and you have to collect the signatures,
Oh, it's usually
you're
just
making a commitment
Yeah.
to run for that seat.
Yeah, but like Andy said, then that creates a whole new, because then the town
Yeah.
clerk has to have the
You would need your
Wardsboro.
town clerk on board. If she's
Yeah.
on board, that's cool. You can go that way.
Yeah, I agree with you too on that point. If you
It
go
just
by
seems
ballot,
like-
then you know for sure going in.
We got 3 people for this
Right.
board.
Oh, I see
because
what you're
3 people had to go around and collect signatures.
Tammy, do you want to, as a Wardsboro resident?
I kind of agree with Dwight. I think the audience for the possibility of a school board member would more likely attend the annual school board meeting versus the town meeting, and just the history that I've gone to the town meetings and the school meetings, it seems like we have more parents that go to an annual meeting or someone that might be interested in becoming a school board member.
Andrew, I hate to do this to you, buddy. Would you be willing to talk to the Wardsboro Town Clerk?
I would.
And see if they would have any, if she would have any interest, if we could maybe make like the last article just for Wardsboro, however we need to do it, but see if that is an option to vote from the floor at the school district meeting for just the Wardsboro person.
So what do you want me to ask her?
Would she be willing, is that something she'd be willing to work with, that?
The Wardsboro director is voted from the floor at your
District
meeting.
annual meeting.
Ask her opinion.
Yeah.
She's not gonna,
You won't mind that.
yeah, I'll ask her that, for
Well,
sure.
just to make sure,
Yep,
we're
absolutely.
assuming that.
Good idea.
No, what about
Yes.
the ballot? Can you
And
ask
no,
her?
well, hang on. So
Oh,
that's
sorry.
question number one. And then the second question is, would she be willing to, if they were to be elected by ballot on some day, because it doesn't have to be town meeting day. She could do a ballot any day, couldn't they?
Well, at that point, right, it might not be your town clerk that does it. If it's on town meeting day, it makes sense for your town clerk to do it, right? If it's not on town meeting day, though, wouldn't it be me as your clerk running an election for you?
Oh, you don't have access to the voters list, do you? Can you look into that too? How would that work? Could we do a different day?
Could you do an Australian ballot on a different day?
Could you do it?
Could I do an Australian ballot on a different
Right,
day?
and how would you do that? You'd have to find a place in Wardsboro.
Why do you
set
want
up.
to do this now? Just out of
Well,
curiosity?
because one of the comments Rick just made was that, if somebody has to go get 10 or 12 signatures, they're more invested, and you may get some people that are interested in
Why
running.
wouldn't you want to do it on town meeting day? Dover does it on town meeting day.
Because I thought we just said that Jackie didn't want to do that in Wardsboro because she would have to be
I
there
didn't
at
say
7.
she didn't want to do it. I would say I
Okay.
said she had to be on board.
Can you ask her if she would be on board for that?
I will.
Yeah, so there's two options we're looking at.
Thank you, Andy.
And we've got a long time. I mean, it's nothing.
You can ask for a raise.
Indeed.
Well, that's why I feel bad, because we told him we wouldn't overburden.
You probably
If he
told me to
agreed
be
to-
here 5 minutes tonight too, right?
No, I told them an hour.
No, I'm more than happy to do this stuff for you. All right, so in the event that Jackie, or I think Jackie's retiring, it would be Michelle, was averse to running an Australian ballot at their town meeting, you want to know what would be involved for me to run an Australian ballot on a different day?
Right.
Maybe for both towns on a different day, or Dover, at Dover's town meeting in Wardsboro at a different day?
Well, so my only thought, though, again, too, is I'm not gonna drive to Wardsboro to vote,
Yeah,
but I'll drive to Dover to
Yeah.
vote. And I don't, maybe Tammy doesn't work in Dover, she lives in Wardsboro
Yeah.
and works there, so for her to drive to Dover to vote doesn't make a lot of sense.
right.
So I guess it's kind of up in the air. So
Right.
we're interested in,
All right.
A, how does a
All right.
floor vote work the night of the annual meeting, because it's in
All
a
right.
different town?
All right.
And then number two, how could we do an Australian ballot for Wardsboro?
Wardsboro.
Because
All right.
Dover, like you said, is pretty easy.
All right. All right, I will figure that out and get back to you.
Now, the only other thing too, Andy, and I don't know, and maybe it's something that we can, and I'm just throwing it out there, is maybe we have, maybe we vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the school director the day of the annual meeting.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
My only
10
question,
10 a.m. maybe to 7 p.m.?
okay, I didn't know if he had to be
Maybe
at 7, or that's
It's
just,
gonna be
a-
like 9 hours, has to start at least by 10 and by 7.
my only other question though is, would we then have to also though, because does that mean before we start the annual meeting, we have to count the votes so you can swear the new members in to sit at the board? Or would it be that they take office?
No, yeah, it would be dependent upon the term of your,
Right. So we-
typically you serve through that annual meeting.
Right, but that's usually because your annual meeting's before the vote's done. So what I was always told is that I was on the school board through till 7 o'clock until the voting stopped. And then I no longer had a position until I got enough votes to win my spot back.
Jeez, I wasn't aware of that.
So,
Because you have
but-
to fulfill your duties as a member of the Board of Civil Authority counting votes.
Yeah, so I don't know, that was a Mary Lou thing.
All right.
But that's old too, maybe
I'll
that
ask
changed.
Mary Lou, see what she says.
You won't.
All right, I'll figure that out too.
Yeah, just,
All right.
but again, if
Yeah.
we set the term, to be the day after, whatever.
All right.
So just, I mean, it's a lot
All
of
right.
odds and ends there, but I think, you know what, we thought we had it nailed down, and I guess we didn't, so
Right.
we'll keep going until we
Okay.
get it right, or the
All
state
right.
changes their mind and makes us combine with Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
Okay.
Not New York.
No.
No, shucks.
Are you good with that, Andy? Are you
I am.
as clear as mine?
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything to try to screw Andy up with? Okay, we really appreciate this, so Andy, this
Thank
is
you,
really
Andy.
helpful.
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome. Good.
So we'll talk, when you get the information, just let me know, and we'll schedule you again at a time that's convenient.
You got it.
Okay, thank you, buddy.
Yep, thank you.
So we got principals' reports. I think we had some written reports from you folks, didn't we?
Yep.
So other than what's on the written report, does anybody have any questions about what's in the written report?
Several of the items have changed since this was written.
Okay,
It's
well, go
amazing
ahead.
what happens in a week, I guess.
I'm sorry, what?
Several of the items on the principal's report have changed since it was written.
Okay. So you guys wrote it together, the report?
Yes.
Okay. So who wants to tell us about the changes?
Parent conferences will not be held Thursday, March 19th. They will be done via video conferencing or such remote services with teachers.
Just under that, the fourth grade students from Brattleboro will not be attending STAR-based classes.
So is that program put off, or?
It is supposed to run through March and into part of April, and as of now, school is dismissed, so that will not take place.
So if they have school in May and June, though, that probably won't?
Probably not.
What about like the training?
The NSTA
Yeah.
The conference was canceled.
canceled.
Not a surprise. Not a surprise.
Okay. So other than that, does anybody have any questions on the principal's written report before we move forward? Do you want a copy of it?
No, I have.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing on that, do you have anything to add?
I would just love to draw your attention to the incredible progress that Wardsboro and Dover students have made this year so far.
Yeah.
We're super psyched about it, and I hope you are too. If anybody has any questions about that page that didn't print very well but came through in your email in color.
Oh, I have it, it's really pretty.
Oh, you got the color version,
Very
yeah.
colorful. Yeah, no, I actually thought, I was impressed with the numbers.
We would love to talk, answer any questions you might have about
I didn't have any questions, but.
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I said, is there anything in your written report? So everybody was good with your written report. So is there anything besides your written report we need to know from the administration?
Anything to add?
I think maybe later on the agenda, some things might come up.
Yeah, so I was thinking, we got this COVID-19 update. So I think we'll deal with the response you gave to the press and stuff then. Okay. Principal Superintendent's report, Bill gave us his cabinet report. Which is, again, was before all these changes.
Yeah.
And Bill's not here, but he talked about the current bill in the Senate. So the Senate did pass out a 4-page bill. Do you want to speak to that, or?
Go right ahead.
So I read it, and unless I read it wrong, it does nothing for this year. It just says that there needs to be a report done. I thought we had the report, and that it needs to, and that for next year that they need to act on this. And there's nothing even about the cap, having something done with the cap. But what it does do is, it gets a bill to go between the two chambers, the House and the Senate, so that somebody.
It gets it to go to the full Senate.
Full Senate? Oh,
First.
so this hasn't been voted by the Senate?
It came out of the Senate Education Committee.
So Senate Ed, so what's gonna happen is if this gets passed in some form though, it at least then gets a bill to the House that the House gets to look at and can also be amended by the full House. So it's important for, even though it doesn't have everything we asked, we would like to have seen, it does have a possibility that we can add stuff to it, correct?
Yeah.
Not we, those,
That,
Representative of ours.
right.
I have two things. One, is that bill changed from a week ago? What they actually passed out of committee, it's the same?
It's the same thing we passed out. I believe it is the same thing that they passed out of committee. It was handed to me.
No, I mean, what they passed out of committee, I haven't seen it since, for a week now.
I don't know if it's
Um,
posted on the site. I think I sent it to you, Rich, as a copy, right? And
Yeah.
Senator Bruce actually handed me a copy of it.
Yeah, it's
I
changed
took
a
a
little
picture
bit.
of
The other thing is, last Wednesday, I was appointed to the VSBA's Wyndham rep. And this was a big topic of our meeting. We did, what was passed, what got off the floor is a recommendation to the legislature to work fast but thoughtfully, and not too fast. The two Wyndham reps, Dan MacArthur and myself, were the only ones to vote for something that said get it done for the next budget year. Everyone else said no.
Are you good with that?
That, I'm good, yeah. So that's where we are with them. They will be testifying.
Everybody
It's a
good?
It's a constitutional issue, so.
I said that,
Yeah,
and
that's fine. I
it
mean-
was kind of dismissed.
Well, it's easier. It lets a whole lot of people off the hook and buys a lot of time if kids who are being hurt have to sue for this to be fixed.
And it takes us a lot longer to get something done.
That's right.
Could probably hold a whole meeting on it.
Okay, everybody good? Any more discussion on that? Laura, thank you for keeping us up to speed on that, too. I really appreciate it.
Rich came up and
That's some Kool-Aid.
had some Kool-Aid.
It's good Kool-Aid.
We are on,
I haven't heard anything today either. I'll let y'all know. Okay, pardon?
so I'm sure everybody's very busy.
We have two, I've been to these other principals, but they fit under superintendents too. The IB coordinators gave a February and March update. Did everybody get those? Is there any questions on that? Cool. Budget development presentation debrief. So we have, we talked about it a little bit, but I asked Lori to send us along with this, also a financial review. So we know that we gotta work on the budget, and Mark said he would work with Anita a little bit when we do the new budget for next year. And I think we're all in agreement to add the 4 pages to the book to expand on this a little bit and make it a little bit more user-friendly. So I think we're all good with that.
One recommendation I will have is we take the account numbers out and put line numbers in.
Yeah, because the account numbers really don't mean anything to anybody but us.
Right.
And then that moves everything over to, I think.
Yeah, good point.
Matt, could you send an email to Lori just stating that, to kind of keep in the back of her mind for us?
What would you like that email to say?
Just that we want to take the account numbers right out of the budget
Got it.
that we use, that we print. I mean,
Add
not,
line.
for her, I know it's important, but for us,
And add line numbers, you said?
the account numbers.
But add line numbers?
No, but that allows you to shift it over
Oh, okay.
so that things can spread out a little bit, so it's not feeling so jammed up.
Got it.
In what we printed in
Line numbers.
in what we printed in the brochure, the report did not have line numbers in it. Because Anita had to account for space, so she left the
Yeah.
account numbers in.
So that level can actually have a number, just so we can, like, people can say,
Yes.
hey, on page 3,
line X.
35, what is that?
Hmm.
And it's easier for us, because I struggled a lot, a couple times, trying to find numbers, and especially because our books were different, but again, it's, really, it's a new experience for all of us, it's different.
Rich.
Yeah, hang on one sec.
Yeah, thank you.
What was? Lost my train of thought, sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it wasn't you.
If I just backtrack a minute, we said something about children being hurt in a report. Was that the superintendent's report?
Report.
I'm sorry?
I missed your question.
No, we were talking about, so we were talking about the state's education financing system. And that has been in place for 2 decades. And a new report came out and highlighted that there is a piece that is really unjust. And so we are working with other districts to try and get that changed, because it's not allowing enough resources to go to poor kids and rural kids. So that was me that was saying that, and that's what's happening, and we are working on it.
Can I get a copy of that, or can I look up that?
A copy of what?
So there is legislation,
So I have to go to
it would be on the Senate,
the Senate.
yep, that just came out of the Senate Education Committee.
The report itself is available on
Yep.
multiple locations, including Laura's website.
Yep, you can find, it's called the Pupil Waiting Report. And that is available on my website.
And it's only 150 pages.
Ha.
That's all right. Article or, what is it, 4,600? That's a few hundred pages.
Oh, Act 46.
Had to study that,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you all set?
Yeah, no, it caught me and I just kind of missed
Yeah.
it.
Can I
Okay.
make just one more comment?
Sure.
If you're looking up that, there are, in the back of it are the actual numbers that they ran. They are for the 2018 budget year. There are new numbers that are going to be coming out very soon for the 2020 numbers. So comparing apples to apples, you want the 2020 numbers. The 2018 was before some of the Act 46 mergers, so it's hard to compare apples to apples.
I know AOE did a lot of revising also, the website.
They're
4,600 as well.
yeah, they're both available on the AOE's website.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, update work plan, so we kind of glanced at that earlier in the meeting, but this plan of action for 2020. So this is what I think we want to look for. So in April, we want to measure progress. District advisory councils, we're going to have some discussions on that. Matt, you're going to send that email out. Matt, Tammy. Web communication presence, we have that to work on. That's a board and administrative thing, so we'll work together on that. Matt, you said you took care of a lot of that in your letter. or some of the stuff was taken care of, and I know Mark has put some links together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, local equity definition unity, so make sure that Bill has something, you got, yeah, in April, that's Laura, what you had requested. Transportation is a real, we gotta, start talking about transportation now, and we have that in April too, but we need Chris to work on that with us, Matt, too.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get, he's not going, Chris isn't going to be trying to work on the RFP with West River until May.
But we need to have a discussion before that, because if he's gonna put an RFP together for West River, we may wanna do something together, so we need to. So before he does that RFP, I mean, I guess I can call.
He was going to put in, he was gonna give me a call before he puts that together.
Okay.
And we can either convene the whole transportation committee, or I can bring it to the board.
But make sure
he will
before
let me
that
know.
goes out, because that's what's been our problem every year, is that they put it out, and then it's too late.
Yeah, I've talked to him a couple times
Yeah.
about it already.
Okay. Matt, make sure he understands that we need to,
So my question is, you said, before he puts that out, ... Before he puts it out, what would you like him to do? Run it by you?
we'd
bring
like
it
to
the
know,
board?
we'd like to know what the whole transportation for the entire district's gonna look like.
So the RVUSD board would like to know the big picture before the
Right, so
RFP goes
that,
out.
are there any chances for us to get involved? So between you and Mark, will you make sure that happens, Tammy? Because you're part of the West River thing too, so, okay. And then budget development, just, I think, we need to just get Lori here to talk about how you put the budget together and let people know ahead of time to look at the budget. May, we're talking about equity definition to begin the discussion. And the goal is to create local equity definition. In June, we'll do equity definition and work for June, July. Goals and measures in August for the principals report. And then identifying budget priorities and formats in November. State of the school from the principals in December. And then in March, we have 2 budget informational sessions. So you got this as a worksheet, so if there's any other things we want to see in there, make sure we get that in there. Lead water update, I think from both of you in your principals' reports, you had that we're all set. We're just waiting to retest, but everything that tested high has been replaced, so you don't have to worry about lead, but now you gotta worry about this other stuff. Yes, sir.
I just had a suggestion,
About lead?
no, it's about water. And, for my family at home, we put aerators in our faucets, 0.38 gallons per minute, to save costs for our water use. And I don't know what the schools are doing, but, I'm hoping to like we're doing solar panels for renewable energy, to save on water and maybe to help teach our children about saving our natural resource, possibly installing, and it's a nominal fee, it's only like $3 to $5 a piece.
Hang on a second, I'm gonna shut you right down.
Okay.
So it's a good point. We're a public water system, so we can't just do whatever we want to do. The state of Vermont tells us what we can and can't do. And it's through regulations from the federal government comes down, and that's why we tested for lead and copper. And we're required, when we went on the fire district, when we went to sewer too, that we had to do everything we could to use as little water as possible.
So measures have already been put in place.
Yeah, so a lot of that's already been done, and we can't just do something that we think is good without getting approval from the state, because we are both schools are public water systems. So we have to have a public water system operator. They have to file certain reports, and the state mandates what we do and don't do. So.
Right, so that would be, Bart.
No, that's
He's the
BART.
chief operator.
No,
that's different.
sewer is different than water. BART has nothing to do with the water systems in town. There is no community, there is no town of Dover water system like there's the North Branch Fire District.
So this school system's not on North Branch Fire District?
The sewage is, but
Sewage is.
not the water. The
Right,
water.
so this is, I'm talking about water leaving not the water coming in.
Right, so the
water
way, the
leaving.
way the fire district judges water is by what comes in, because they don't measure it as it goes out, they measure the water as it comes in. But the state has required us to be on low flow or whatever we've had to do in the past. It's because the state regulates our water coming in, okay? The state also regulates the water going out through the fire district, not Bart. Bart has rules he has to follow.
Right, I didn't know if there were any measures like I'm taking at home that we could
We-
use here in
we've
their
done all-
school.
We had to do those when we hooked up to the sewer, when we
2 years ago, or
we hooked up to
whatever
the
it
sewer
was.
many, many years ago. It was like 25 years ago. It was before I was on the board.
Okay.
They ran a separate sewer line up just for us. The town voted to put money away for reserves. And
Alright.
then the water system was updated, but that has nothing to do with the fire district. That is a separate organization that oversees the fresh water. And it's through the state.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you.
Cool. You got contracts for us?
And I have that other policy.
Yeah, I've got that down here somewhere down.
This is from earlier in the meeting, 22 regular.
Oh,
You asked for it,
oh,
so we
oh.
could put the,
So we adopted it on 3/16/2020, right? Okay, perfect, thank you. Well, are these in executive session or are these in?
Contractual? I think those would be executive session.
executive.
Okay, I don't know why they had staff contracts actually. So we'll move that into executive session because it's contractual and personnel. COVID-19 update, so we got from Bill before things closed up. Oh, I'm sorry, one other quick thing. So the PFSAs that we were supposed to test for, what is it, PFASs.
You don't want lead testing?
No, lead is different. This was the other stuff that we tested for. Didn't all the schools have to test for PFSAs, which is like the stuff that they had in Pownell in the water system?
Yes.
And we were all okay, right? Both buildings?
As far as now, yes.
I haven't heard otherwise, I'll have to dig in.
Okay. There's just, so I get this magazine, Vermont Rural Water Operators. And the Mount Holly School, the small rural public elementary school, less than 100 students, has cumulative levels for 5 of the PFASs at 323 parts PPT. I forget what that stands for. Its assumed source is FFF. It is financially strapped due to consolidation issues and is looking at cutting bus services because of lack of funding available for the PFAS response. The school also has no funding available to hire an engineer to go through the 8 response action alternatives mandated by the state drinking water program. And the school has asked Vermont Rural Water Association to step in and be their advocate. See news coverage of the school. So it's interesting that this, a school can just say, oh, well, we can't do anything because we don't have the funding, but yet, when we try to do that with our water system, they didn't really care. So if we ever have an issue with that, we should probably follow what Mount Holly's doing.
Yeah, I think more schools should do what they're doing.
Yeah, no, they should.
Yeah.
Because they keep throwing us rules, like with the lead, they did put money aside to fix the lead issues.
Yeah.
But this PSFA stuff, they haven't done anything, and it's getting to be a pain in the, for other people. COVID-19, so Bill sent out a few things for this COVID-19. Did everybody see the school closure information about during a novel coronavirus outbreak, which was revised on March 10th? So I guess this is what you guys used, Matt, when you met today?
Well, we didn't use that today because the agency and the Department of Health have released new updates since then.
Okay, so this is no good now.
I wouldn't throw it away, but
Well, I don't need it because I'm not closing school.
yeah, there have been updates.
So on Saturday, Bill wrote that at 3:15 on Saturday, Governor Scott said, basically, to close all the schools. So as part of that, you guys met with Bill today. So all the administrators met with the superintendent. And tell us what you guys are doing. Either one. I
Sure. So we met today to discuss the current state of affairs, given the governor's announcement about school closures. We clarified the fact that we're taking the route of school dismissal, which means that we can still provide some services while children are not in the building. In particular, we're looking at consistency of learning, dealing with meals and specialized services for students receiving specialized instruction. I think it's a wonderfully coordinated supervisory union effort. The team is strong and is working together, sharing ideas, working on consistent notices and notifications of our families, trying to have a consistent program of supports for all of our students, district-wide, supervisory union-wide. They're essentially using tomorrow and the rest of the days this week to prepare for longer-term materials.
Who is that?
Teachers, sorry, thank you. Teachers will be using, well, actually, they've been working since we got that notice on Thursday. So they were informed on Thursday that there would be closures and that we would have to prepare kind of a short-term reaction, what to do this week, and then a longer-term reaction for what to do in the coming weeks. Again, I'm very impressed with all the principals report that staff has been, for lack of a better word, enthusiastically embracing new ideas about how to deliver materials, using new technology platforms, utilizing the high-speed internet at school, utilizing the many free resources that have emerged in the last week that companies are giving away to teachers and families to help make that transition more seamless. I think we found we have pretty good resources between our two schools to supply families with what they need in terms of technology, printouts. We're making plans now for dealing with food and getting the meals out there and figuring out who needs food and how they're going to get it. And then the last step that actually is kind of coming together, I don't know your experience, but we had a meeting via video conference today with a family for an IEP, and we had people coming from all over the place in that meeting, so we're trying to observe the recommendations of the Department of Health in terms of, not bringing people together in groups. Did I miss anything?
No, I think Matt really covered everything. I would echo what you said about, teachers really sort of embracing the moment and really, doing their best in a last-minute effort to get materials ready for students so that their learning continues during the dismissal. Teachers, again, are, like Matt said, they're going to be trying some new things, maybe some online learning, maybe some Google Hangouts and chats. Google Classroom will be utilized, so they're really being creative and open to new ideas.
So, I have questions. Questions. And I know this is emerging, so I'll just tell you.
Evolving,
Yeah.
yes.
One of the things that I am most concerned about is, I think there's a great opportunity with online learning. I'm most concerned about our kids being able to access that. I think I heard you talk about maybe equipment, making sure that's available, but it's the infrastructure piece that I'm most concerned about, and particularly in Brattleboro. And so, is there anything more about that you're able to share right now, or is that something that you're trying to get your arms around?
At this time, we're gathering information. Matt and I developed a survey that asked questions regarding families' internet as well as their access to devices. And we are, again, still collecting that information, but we would be able to report out on that once all of that information is collected by us.
Please keep me posted on that.
You'll use that, you follow up on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Follow up on that. We have roughly half of the responses have been received to that from our Dover group. And the connectivity was a little surprising to me, and I know you'll be interested in this number. At this point, I'm reporting about around 55% of our families reporting adequate internet connectivity, which is lower than I thought. And by adequate, we're saying 50 megabits or more.
50?
50.
50?
Yeah.
What was the
That's
choice
more than
below
is
that?
available in Dover.
What was your question?
What was the choice below that?
Just inadequate, less than 50.
50 is not available in
So
Dover.
I know you all are dealing with a lot of things. It seems like one of the things that might be helpful is if we can figure out some, so it's DSL, that probably a lot of, anybody that's got it in Wardsboro, in Eastover, that's what we have. I know when the 50, I was like, what are you talking
50 sound
about?
high to you?
Yes.
50 is really high.
50
I
is
can't-
really high.
If you have
That does
fiber,
not
you
sound
can
weird to me.
Get up to a gigabit.
So if you were to ask 10
100.
or 5,
Yes.
5,
Five.
then I would be surprised. Okay, so a lot of people have DSL. And that's fiber, what you just said. 50 is fiber,
It's also could be
Oh,
cable.
the telephone line.
Could be cable. but it's not DSL.
So maybe it's important for us to kind of retool that question.
I know you're doing a
And
lot
try to
around
gather
this.
that.
If there's something that we can do to be helpful or that can be done at the supervisory union to push that out.
Yeah, more so than speed, you want to know if they are comfortable and if it works, what you're trying to do is working.
Right, the overall group our group feels confident that things with text or internet sites, web pages will be fine.
Yeah.
They're worried about video, streaming video.
Streaming video.
And I think that would be
Conferencing.
appropriate
Yeah.
Things like
at
that.
with DSL in some of the rural areas to be worried about streaming.
Right.
But kids will be able to access.
Yeah, and I'm happy to report that 100% of our families did check that they do have internet access. So all of our families do have access to it at least. Whether or not it's adequate is a whole nother
That's another
ballgame.
question.
What about, Matt, was that a separate question then?
Well, we decided to send the surveys out independently so that we could get a sense from each community what the needs were.
So it'd just be interesting. So you don't know how many of our families actually have access to internet?
So we have results that say, I think I have one report of the 46 responses that said, I do not have internet.
Okay, that's good.
But we
So-
don't know if that's availability or they just have chosen not to have
It could be that they've just chosen not to do it. And we don't know that. We'll have
Or
to follow up
financial
on
reasons.
this.
Just for your information, the two primary internet service providers in Dover are Duncan Cable, which is 12.
25. Isn't it? Cable's 25.3.
No, coax. Coax. DSL maxes out at 25.2 around us, and Duncan maxes out at 12 down, 3 up.
Really?
Yes.
I think consolidated, which we get is 7 down
Yeah.
and 1 up.
Right.
That's what I get.
It depends on where you are,
Right.
but it maxes out at 25.2 for consolidated. And then obviously it has to do with distance from their central offices, but what you can get. But you're not gonna get 50. Rich thinks he's on fiber, but,
I am on fiber.
oh, you,
I know
your
I'm on
your
fiber.
your office.
No, I'm in
Yeah,
your
my
office.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's different. Fiber runs down 100, but it's not available residential.
Oh, well, I don't need it at home.
Which is fine. It's just, you're gonna
Are
want
you
stuff to
inviting all the kids over to your office?
No,
Yeah.
because
If you need
we have a
help,
sign
let
that
me
says
know.
do not
I
come
know you've got
in.
a bunch of other
I
stuff.
did
you're
a dog there
dealing with, but if you need help-
yesterday, or this morning, not letting dog.
No, not today. He didn't come to work. Hang on a second, folks, because we're gonna start losing it.
Do the teachers, are they still coming to the schools so you guys can collaborate on how this is working, or are they going to be working from home?
Teachers, yes, teachers will be coming into the schools.
They're still
and
coming
They
into
are
the-
making themselves available to families as well.
I think that's
Great.
great, because they can kind of
Yeah.
work together and working on plans for each other.
Go ahead.
More-
No,
really-
finish up.
I'm really happy to hear about the meals and some of these socialization you were talking about, with the interaction, because I think that's going to be a big issue. The kids aren't socializing and working together, so it's really great to hear. What about,
While you're on that though, so one of my understandings is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because we're still serving the meals, and because we've given homework or given work out to them, or we're working with them, although school isn't in session in the building, we can count these days as school days, correct?
That's why it is considered a dismissal versus a closure.
Okay, so everybody understands that? Okay, because that doesn't mean we're going to school till August.
no.
Yeah, okay,
No,
go ahead,
good.
go ahead.
That's only, and what about, is there like a plan for physical education, like to the
There
kids?
is actually,
Yeah.
our PE teacher at Wardsboro was able to send something out last week that our teachers got a hold of. So some of our teachers have put that on their Google Classrooms, and then we've also put that hard copy within packets for students to do as well,
That's great.
with a log and all
This is
sorts of other
fantastic.
stuff.
You guys have done all this work so quickly. Really good.
It's really come together quickly.
Yes.
No, I'm all set.
Okay, go ahead.
On a positive note, homework is already being handed in, so this is great.
Why did you bring
It's
homework
working out well. Yeah.
Work to hand in.
Your story about your daughter is a good one. How she's got her room set up.
Oh, yeah.
A classroom now.
She has her
Just got a desk
in
and-
a classroom.
Well, those are things you could probably share on social, that what kids are doing in their own rooms and things like this.
Well, but we also have to be careful what we share too.
Yeah, that's right, that's true
Yeah,
too.
we wouldn't.
So just so everybody knows, Lauren, who's usually here with us from the Valley News, couldn't make it, but she did send a letter to Matt that Matt responded to, and I think it's a really good, I just want to read some of the responses. So although attendance was generally low, we did have school today at WCSU, except for Marlboro. The leadership team met today and decided not to have school tomorrow and begin preparations for dismissal period as described in Bill's letter. And my understanding was like 38% of the kids were here, so a lot of students chose not to.
Yeah, less than that.
So that's why they chose not to extend it tomorrow too. Since there were so few students in attendance today, we couldn't send much work home. Beginning Wednesday, we'll be implementing a pickup and drop-off system for schoolwork over the coming weeks. Most families will receive clarity on this by tomorrow if they haven't already, so I think that's really a good move. At this point, we will hold our River Valley Union School District meeting as planned at 6 p.m. tonight in Dover. While the public can still access recorded versions of the meeting through BCTV, I expect we'll begin experimenting with live streaming, other stuff. So one of the things they said, so I was on Friday, I did check in to see if we should have the meeting. Everything, and even if you review the governor's press conference on Friday, it was a lot different, yeah. So I did again today. Mark actually emailed me and somebody else, and I said, well, hang on, or Lauren did. And I said, I'm not sure, I'm waiting to get hold of Bill, but you guys were meeting. I never got hold of him till lunchtime. He felt that we were okay because we're a small group, we could spread out enough, except for you guys. And then, and we should be in pretty good shape. We may want to reconsider other meetings. Matt had a possibility of doing some stuff, and Laura said she can call in, but because we didn't warn it, and because if we allow one person, we have to allow everybody, I said no to it this time. I think what we should do is, before we have our next meeting for April, is, maybe like next week, let's just see what's going on and what the recommendations are and what we're doing, and figure out if we do need to meet in April, the beginning of April, and how we do that. But I know we can do it, we're allowed to, but we have to give a number. We have to allow a number for anybody to call in, not just the board members.
So I would hope that the superintendent is working on that at a supervisory union level for all of the boards. And if not, I hope you guys could convey that, although I'm sure he's watching.
No, he won't be
It's
watching.
not live.
No, I mean, he'll watch it at some point.
And then Wardsboro students will be able to access meals through, this was the meal question, through the West River School District.
So I can explain how that's going to work a little bit. There'll be 3 locations where students or families can pick up meals. That will be Jamaica Village School, Newbrook Elementary School, as well as Leland and Gray, and that is from 11 until 1, Monday through Friday. And it will contain either a bag lunch or some sort of a meal for lunch, as well as the next day's breakfast. Then they would come back the next day and get those other 2 meals.
How far is Jamaica?
Jamaica from Wardsboro, or from
Like
here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not for the
Oh, okay.
students in Dover, okay,
Just
hang on a
curious.
second. Matt says, you want me to just read it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's happening with the Dover students is they need to call the school by 9 a.m. on the day they would like a meal, and between 11:30 and 12:30, there'll be a bag lunch available at the school for them to pick up. If they can't pick it up, if there's an issue with picking stuff up, they need to just, at 9 a.m., let Matt know or let somebody here know, and they'll make alternate arrangements. So just so everybody knows, for Dover, I'm having an emergency management meeting tomorrow to discuss what we're gonna do in Dover, because it's not only just students, but, you know, there's people that may be self-quarantining that we need to take care of, or seniors that don't wanna go out to keep from getting exposed. So we're working on a couple different things, so Matt, I've been asked to come to the meeting tomorrow, so if he can come too, so we can work that out, and then if we can help you out a little bit too, you know, if it's not too far out of the Dover area. I'm not sure who I'm gonna get for volunteers and whatnot, but.
I will.
Okay, well, so we may have some possibilities, you know, if students can't get, or families can't get somewhere, so.
I know one of the concerns that Chris Parker, who was the chef at West River, had was that immediately he doesn't think the need is going to be great, but as time goes on, the need might be greater.
More.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Got a couple of questions. One, looking backwards. Is Dover going to be offering breakfasts okay, so it won't just be lunches that they'll be
Yeah.
picking up?
So I think it's the same as West River. The plan is to put breakfast food in the lunch bag
Okay.
so that they can have breakfast for the next day when they pick up their lunch on that day.
Great.
And it'll be cereal, it'll be, you know, things that we can transport and store, and
But something like that.
it'll be sometime, yeah.
Another question. If students don't have internet or adequate internet at home, can arrangements be made in the school facilities, especially with teachers being there, for them to come, either use computers there or interact?
At this point, the answer is yes, unless they declare, you know, something different.
Okay.
That's the plan for families that might need internet access. Families can also drive up if they want to be quarantined and access the internet from the parking lot,
Oh, that's fantastic.
which is an option, yeah. And if we need to make that more available, we can as well.
Appreciate you contacting that. No, I think
Thank you.
it's my bag.
You all set, Mark?
I'm good, yeah.
Have we beat this virus into the ground, guys?
Not yet.
Not enough.
Okay. So part of this too, this Blizzard bags thing was, there's a link to it if you got it electronically. So Ken McFadden requested for Wyndham Central that we discuss this. So I guess what this is some schools have done it where they have it set up so that students have a pile of material, or the staff has material preset, so that if there was to be a blizzard and school would be closed for a couple weeks, the children can take it home and they don't count all the snow days. Huh?
For a blizzard.
Well, in the old days, we used to get that. I mean, it seems like I remember like power being out for 2 or 3 weeks in Townsend, you know, and so we had no school just because there was no power. So anyways, that's something that they were talking about that Ken wants to bring up a policy about. So I think that's going to come through central office, through Wyndham Central. And I don't know, I guess that's kind of what you're trying to do now, right, Matt?
Yeah, that is essentially what we're doing, is planning for instruction without attendance.
He's a member, he's a member of the West River Board. He used to be chair of the Newbrook Board, and he's been on for quite a while, too. So in part of this is we have a new policy to consider, and Bill sent this to everybody, F31, emergency closings. The school board, through its superintendent, may order the closing of any and all schools whose operation on a short-term basis would pose a serious threat to students or staff. Implementation. Such emergencies may be caused by weather conditions, equipment breakdown, bomb threats, or health problems. The superintendent will also have the authority to delay school opening, dismiss early due to inclement weather or other emergencies. In all cases, notification will be given to staff and the public according to a predetermined plan developed by the superintendent. The board chair will be notified as soon as practical by the superintendent when school is closed for emergencies. Days lost due to emergency closings will be rescheduled so that the school will be in session as required by state law. So, did anybody actually read this or look at this beforehand?
I didn't get it till, no.
You didn't get it?
I don't think
It's
that
part of the packet.
Was it?
Yeah.
The last
We're
packet.
sitting here.
Okay.
So my one comment is during Irene, a lot of schools were closed, but because we felt in Dover it was important for some normalcy, you know, we opened school just when it was supposed to be. I think it made a lot of difference because parents could bring their children to school and then go do whatever they need to do to take care of stuff at home. So I'm okay with this, but I think we need to, some schools are different. I mean, we don't get affected by flooding as much, up here on the hill. I don't know, Tammy, what the Wardsboro building, if during Irene, I don't know how
It was
close.
just access.
You couldn't get there.
Access
Yeah.
to school.
Well, you could get here from Dover, you just couldn't get here from out of town.
Yeah, some of the back roads.
We had every road within a day open that you could at least transverse, and believe me, they were all out there because that was one comment that was brought up during those meetings was, can't we keep people off the road for a couple days? So anyways, my only concern would be that we need the ability, because we may decide it's more important to be open than it is closed, just to be able to feed kids and do some stuff. So I don't think it's a bad policy, but I would like to maybe modify it a little for the river valleys. So since people didn't really get to see it, why don't we just look at it and we'll discuss it at the next meeting? So we can all be on the same page. Is that okay with
Well,
everybody?
This is not anything he's gonna need at this point, right?
No.
So
No.
I think the governor trumped him, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the last sentence it doesn't apply now because we're not closing, we're dismissing. So this policy wouldn't apply anyway.
Right. So is everybody good with that, or anybody?
Yeah, good with it.
Rick, you also?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had this thing called Come Together Now. It was, I don't know if anybody remembers the John Lennon song, so, Matt does, yeah. And
Now
if
it's
you
in
know,
my head.
if you know the history of it, there was a politician running for office in California, and he asked Lennon to write him a song for his campaign, so,
He has the right person.
he didn't use it, so, then he actually tried to sue the Beatles for it. But one of the things I just wanted to ask about, and it's nothing that we're going to put together right now, but just to get on kind of our radar, is, I asked about like graduation. So in Dover, historically, we've always had the school board attend the Dover graduation. I think Rick told me that Wardsboro was similar. So if we do graduation on the same night, does the board from Dover attend the Dover side? How do we do that? Do we have a graduation, maybe up at the Grand Summit that we do both schools? And then there was things like, we heard during budget time about the ski program, that there was nothing to do if you didn't ski, but yet Tammy does something in Wardsboro with snowshoeing. So could we bring Dover students over to go snowshoeing and then take the Wardsboro students to Mount Snow in our transportation, and then in the bus that the River Valley owns, and then, bring them back and drop them off and pick up our Dover students to give them something to do. I was just, are there other things where we can start doing some more stuff together as one unit versus two totally separate schools in totally separate parts of the state? So it's nothing that I want to make any decisions, but I do think for graduation is definitely something we should start thinking about. And I'd like to get, recommendations from our administrators and also, from parents, 6th grade parents, what they think. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Along those lines, in your principal's report, Tammy, you talked about 2 programs that your kids were going to be going to. I'm guessing that's not going to happen. Is that something that can be expanded to both schools?
Well, Starbase is really far. It's in Rutland, and it's 5 individual, it's an amazing program. It's five-day trips to Rutland. From here, it's nearly 2 hours. It's on the north side of Rutland.
Okay.
So it's really not feasible. Wardsboro's an extra half an hour closer, so it's much more feasible. So I would love to go to Starbase, but it's just, I think it's too far for us to do. The other program that was canceled was a teacher training program in STEM. Right? That was the other. I don't think there was another
Programs
student
that the students were going to be going to.
program.
I read this stuff last week and
Yeah.
I don't remember.
No, I think it was only the one, wasn't it?
It's just been the one. Okay.
Anyway, Starbase is awesome if you ever get a chance. It's an amazing program.
Take the board.
It's super cool.
Are they doing
Yeah.
key weighting this year? Is that gonna happen?
Well, scheduled still.
So,
It's still on the schedule.
It may be closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's great. I think those two are good examples. The ski program, I've been very much in favor of combining those two, having ski and ski together would be great. And
And
graduation
again,
makes sense too.
it's not an end-all be-all, it was just to start us
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
You know, again, I was told, I'm still a little upset that it says Dover School District on the buses and not River Valley's Unified School District, but I was told that's gonna get fixed this year.
I mentioned to someone, they were talking about going to Brattleboro, and I said, for secondary school, I said, you just pick up the bus in Dover, and they didn't realize they could do that.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, it's your bus. So maybe
So,
some-
yeah, I think, you know, again, we're still in some growing, you know, we're learning, we're growing, and we're figuring things out,
Yeah.
so. Okay, so just we'll work on that, and we'll get that on. Matt, can you just make a note, make sure that gets on the calendar so it doesn't get forgotten?
The graduation. and
Well, no,
chairman's
just the combine, you know, more commingling of the schools, I guess.
Joint activities.
Come together now, and then you can sing it for us
Be
next
all
time.
together now. All together.
That's a whole
That's another
different.
Beatles song.
Yeah. And then the financial review, I just thought that we're close enough in the year. Lori did the financial review. Since we're running late, I don't want to go through line item by line item. But if you look at the last page, we're on target for a flat or possible small deficit revenue expense if we use the full $200,000.
I
So,
like that Boston accent in there.
yeah, wasn't that good?
That's pretty good.
It's because I couldn't get to go to the St. Patrick's Day parade yesterday in South. But anyways, you know, I like, she does really good with the available balance and, you know, kind of encumbered, because a lot of times we would look at things, especially when we used to have the teachers' contracts that they would get paid at the end of the year for like the last 2 months, so you're like, wow, we're doing really, really good. And then all of a sudden, you know, $200,000 goes out like that.
Or tuition bills came out late.
Yeah, so then that happens a lot. I think the tuition bills look pretty good, if I remember, when I looked at them.
Where are we missing,
Total secondary expenses.
Yeah, somebody hasn't, we haven't been billed by a couple, it looks like. So, but anyways, she's projected out that we should be pretty close, and, you know, I think in one of the emails I saw that there's gonna be pretty shortly a no more purchasing anything by staff. You know, if it's not essential, we're gonna hold off buying it, just because the budget's, you know, gonna get close. But that's a lot better than being told we're $500,000 over budget right now, so.
That's, so in light of that, Matt, that seems like that could be somewhat problematic, given,
What?
don't buy anything, given that we're asking our,
Anything non-essential.
not, so, right. So are we are we likely to see any savings with the shutdown? So I know we're paying people to work, which we should, we're feeding kids, which we should. Can you think of anything that we might be saving?
No fuel in the
Save some fuel.
transportation.
Yeah.
Oh, the bus, okay.
And instead of the janitor, the custodial staff having, to, at least in this building, work on the drive the buses, or they'll have more time to do some other projects that have been sitting, so we should get
Okay.
some
Well, I'm
stuff
just,
caught
I mean,
up.
because we're gonna need to probably expend some unanticipated dollars if this goes on.
We should see some savings in our custodial.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, it's, again,
Are
it's,
you worried about that at all? Or do you feel like you have enough? Well, it's so new.
Yeah, I'm not worried about resources.
No.
Okay.
I think we have what we need.
I mean, I'd be
To
more
innovate.
concerned about things like, do you have enough cleaning stuff? Because can you not get,
It's right here.
you know, did every month you order disinfectants, now we can't get them?
We do have enough cleaning stuff.
I think
We have
probably
enough.
leave that right there.
We could help if you're low.
No, don't.
Okay. For now.
That's a call.
Okay. So,
And Lori did say if there's any questions, please email her your questions and she'll answer them.
we're gonna have her at a meeting in the future, or we'll have her on, however we do, we'll have her on my flip phone or something. And, you know, we can ask questions then too, but I think I wanted to just get a feel for where we were with the budget to make sure we weren't like really looking at some bad stuff going on. Now, the other question's gonna come up too, though, is a lot of people I know are coming up that have second homes because they don't wanna be in the cities that have been quarantined. Are they gonna want services for their students?
I haven't had any inquiries about that so far.
And again, you know, big change, tomorrow we may all wake up and everything may be right as rain.
It's all a dream.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Again, we wake up and it's Stephen King there behind the camera.
That's right.
Okay, so I got a couple executive session items. We have a contractual, we have personnel, we have contracts.
So moved.
Okay, so I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're in executive session. You don't want to stick around. Okay, so by unanimous consent, we're out of executive session at I've got 8:55?
8:53.
8:53. Okay,
That's what I
so,
already wrote down,
Rick and Rich will keep the board informed about the contractual issue. And then I got two other items that we can deal with.
We need a motion for the
Yep.
handbook. Move to adopt the support personnel handbook in its current form,
As submitted.
as submitted.
There we go. Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the second handbook and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. And then the second item is,
Since I've already been told that I made the motion, move to approve the contracts coming out of central office as submitted with one change from, on one contract from .35 to .2 time.
okay,
Second.
we have a motion and we have a second to approve all the contracts as submitted for the professional staff in both buildings for next year, with one change, which is the one person is at a .35 on the contract and is only supposed to be a .2. So the administration will check into that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. So we are in good shape. So I'll give you these back, Matt, for Tammy, who's taking these.
Either one.
Okay.
We'll see. I may not drive down on Wednesday. Are you driving over to Townsend?
Yeah.
Do you want to take them?
Sure. Should we,
You think we should separate them out by building?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
react to that?
So I'm gonna turn the one that needs to be fixed right like that, and then
Perfect.
the list is in the front.
Yeah, we'll split.
Okay, and then the last thing, we want to just do two resignations. So Lauren Quimby is is asking, she's going to resign effective the end of the 2021 school year, from the Dover School for the 2021 school year. She will complete her current contract as she's relocating. And then this is to the River Valley Board. Please accept this letter as my formal notice of retirement as a Dover sixth grade classroom teacher as the end of the 1920 school year. And Dover School's been an important part of her life, and grateful for having had the opportunity to teach here for all these years. So with regret, we accept both resignations at this time. And Matt, we've talked about a hiring process, Matt and Tammy, so we've got 3 or 4 positions, so we should be good to move forward.
Ready to go.
Okay, so the last thing I need is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Dwight moves to adjourn. Rick seconds it.
Yes, absolutely.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're out of here.
Good meeting.
Excellent meeting, guys.